Hello and welcome to today's video, which is all about the horrors that gas engineers find when they're out there doing their job. Now, let's get on with it. For this section, is it a flue or is it a gun? Is that an anti-tank missile, a gun, or a vertical flue on its side? Are we looking at a battleship's turret, or are we looking at two flues just coming out over the top of a door? Please could you just answer me one question? Why? Is this an air-to-air missile, or is it the flue off a Vaillant boiler? And finally, just what were they thinking? In this next section, I like to call it Who Came First? So who came first? The vent, the air brick, or the boiler flue? What about this one? Was it the upper head, the waste pipe, or the boiler flue? And no, this does not make it legal because you've stuck the flue 300mm out of the wall to get it away from the air vent. It's still wrong, whichever way you look at it. Now that's a novel way of heating your conservatory up. Just let your flue go into your conservatory and use the products of combustion to warm the room. Genius. Who came to site first, the gas engineer or the conservatory builder? And finally in this section, my money is on the boiler was there before the carport. Now from the pictures you've just seen, flues are a big problem for gas engineers when they're going out servicing boilers. Not a lot of them are installed in the correct location, but they're still most of the time not dangerous, unless we've got products of combustion coming back into the room. What did you think, Warwick? Rubbish! Anyway, let's get on with it. This next section is all about cookers from hell. What do you mean? There's nothing wrong with my cooker. It's only temporary, the push fit fitting. It's alright, isn't it? My cooker broke. I couldn't afford a new one, so I bought this off eBay. What do you mean it can't go there? And it doesn't matter if a knob's missing, does it? Now where hobs are concerned, this is the most common thing we find. Somebody using flexible tap connectors or water fittings to connect hobs up. As you can see here, we've got quite a few pictures proving this. And if you haven't got a flexible tap connector to install your hob illegally, why not use a bit of garden hose, Jubilee clip and plenty of silicone? And if you're having your hob removed, why not cap it off with a boiler fix valve, then think, oh, hang on a minute, somebody could turn that on, I'll use a push fit fitting to cap the end off. On gas? Really? And these brand new appliances now where you get 2-in-1, so you get your washing machine and your hob together. And all cookers require a stability chain or bracket, but actually secured to the wall, not to the gas pipe. And those famous words uttered by the customer, can you come and service my cooker? Not a chance. And gas cooker bayonets need to be installed around 750mm off the floor without manufacturer's instructions, so the hose doesn't touch the floor, not install them on the floor. Now from this batch of pictures, I'm sure you can see cookers are a really big problem for gas engineers. And I think the main reason for that is cookers don't need to be registered under building control. So I think a lot of DIYers and kitchen fitters like to think they can install cookers and hobs. But as you can see from the pictures, that's not really the case, is it? That's handy. Anyway, now shall we get on with some more? This section I like to call Builders from Hell, or are they just the devil? Now from these next couple of pictures you're going to see this is pretty commonplace, where the builder has half built the extension and not had the boiler flue sorted out beforehand, and they get you in halfway through the construction and say, oh, can you move the flue or can you move the boiler? But most of the time it's been running like this for a few weeks, and it can be incredibly dangerous, like this picture where the flue actually terminates underneath a bedroom and they're still running it and they're saying it's fine because the door's missing. But look at this boiler, not even secured, and they've used a bit of waste pipe to get the flue out of the way, and probably the most ingenious way of getting the products of combustion out we've ever seen is this one, and they think it's okay when obviously it isn't. And where do you start with this one? I don't know whether you can see this very clearly, but there is actually 3 flues working here, and one of the flues is actually passing through a redundant balance flue. This is also a passageway which is covered with a bedroom which is above it. Now the nearest flue to us isn't sealed. The next flue you can see just above it is going through the other flue which isn't sealed, and then there is a broken balance flue just above it, and all 3 boilers were working in the same house, and this guy was a property developer who was doing this house. It's just unbelievable. Now, as you can see from those batch of pictures, when you're having an extension done at home, you really need to be thinking about the existing boiler, where it's positioned, and does it need a new one or moving before the extension starts to be built. Big spider, innit? We met on the web. You don't want to get it angry, because it'll just go up the wall. Next section's gas meters. Let's hope your gas meter isn't any of these. Now, gas meters, most of the time, out of sight, out of mind. But we can't have a corroding gas meter. Also, gas meters don't work very well when they're underwater, so always make sure your meter cupboard door is intact. This meter box has no door on it whatsoever, so it is not secure and is not stopping any kind of weather from damaging the anaconda, the meter or the bracket. But it gets even worse than this one. This semi-concealed meter box has no lid whatsoever, so you can see this has not just got rain in there, it's also got a lot of debris just to rot away this gas meter. Now, can we get any worse than the last one? Yes, we can, because this surface mounted meter box has its cover missing completely as well, and this meter is looking in a very sorry state. So, can we get worse than this one? I'm afraid we can. This meter has actually been installed outside, and it looks like it's been installed outside for a very long time without any kind of meter box on there. And in considering the meters belong to the supplier, this meter's never been read, has it? Or tested, because any engineer would not leave a gas meter in this state. Hopefully not, anyway. Now, at this gas meter, the customer was complaining their new boiler, which they'd just had installed, was not working properly and kept turning itself off. So when we got to the meter, what can you see? Well, this lead pipe. Bit twisted. So probably that's why the new boiler's not working. So this lead pipe should have actually been replaced when the new boiler was installed, because it probably is not big enough anyway. Now at this gas meter, the regulations state that there should not be two flexible connections coming off the meter, but if there are two flexible connections, then the pipe needs to be secured within 600 millimeters of the meter, and the meter must be on a bracket and secured to the floor of the wall, as it is kind of here. But if you look closely at the right hand side anaconda, which is coming from the flow from the meter, it's actually connected to the ECV. So this meter is running backwards, so that means they're stealing gas. Now on this gas meter, the first thing you see on the bracket is the tamper screws are missing. But if we go further up, you can see an even worse thing. Somebody's actually connected their gas supply to the house with a cooker hose. Now then, that's breaking quite a few regulations. So in this picture you can see there is one flexible connection coming off the gas meter, but it's on the opposite end it normally is. So what they've done is they've extended the inlet to the regulator with a copper pipe so they could get it away from the electric meter and the consumer unit. But what they've seemed to forgot is also that a gas pipe needs to be 25 mil away from an electric cable or a plug socket, but 150 mil away from a consumer unit. So they're on a loser whichever way they did it. Now on this one, who came first? The electrician or the gas man? Hopefully it was the gas man and it's the electrician who's at fault. But this definitely is the electrician's fault. You can't go sticking an earth cable through the side of a meter box. It needs to come through the bottom of the meter box where the knockouts are. And gas meters need to be secured with a bracket, not a few bits of strap banding around the pipe. And you also need access to your ECV. So if you're having a new kitchen fitted and your gas meter's in a cupboard, make sure you can get to the ECV. It's important. Also, with a gas meter, we need to be able to read the figures so you can be billed. So good luck with these two then. And when a gas pipe exits the back of a meter box, the pipe needs to be in a sleeve and it also needs to be sealed. And how to save yourself £1,000 on getting a gas meter moved when you have an extension. Just bury it under your kitchen floor. And what about this horror then? Well, thankfully this is a secondary meter, not a primary meter, because as you can see there's no ECV, there's no regulator, there's no bracket, but it is still an absolute disgrace and whoever installed it should be ashamed of themselves. Now I've saved the worst for the last. There isn't even a meter on this one. Somebody's actually bypassed the meter. But you can see somebody's put new meter with an arrow going to the left hand side to tell you that there's probably the meter's been moved somewhere, but they couldn't be bothered to alter the pipe work outside. That's just ridiculous. Now normally gas meters aren't the responsibility of gas engineers, they're the responsibility of the gas supplier or our ESP, emergency service provider, which is Cadent here in the northwest. So if you find a dodgy gas meter, you need to report it to your gas supplier, not your gas engineer, because they're not responsible. Have you met Tomcat before? He's a lovely little pussy. Now, open flue boilers are becoming particularly rare nowadays, but if we look at this installation, this is not how you connect twin wall to an asbestos flue pipe. Bits of tape? Nah mate, don't use bits of tape. Now this boiler is connected to a ridge terminal with flue liner. Flexible flue liner should go down a chimney, not be in a loft. And according to the regulations now, flexible flue liner cannot be on show or touched. So this will need ripping out then. And if you look closely at the ridge terminal, the flexible flue liner is connected to the ridge terminal again with bits of tape. Hopefully gas engineers don't think you can connect flues with bits of tape. And another boiler where the asbestos flue in the loft has been taken out and a flexible flue liner has been connected to the asbestos flue. Well, we don't really want to be touching asbestos, do we? But this is a definite no-no. And finally, in this section, this boiler has been connected to the flue system with the right flue system for a change. They've used twin wall fluing, which is perfect, except they installed it upside down. Oh my word. Up next is the boiler horror show, and hopefully none of your boilers are in these pictures. Now this boiler is a prime example of why we need inspection hatches now when flues are boxed in, because they didn't use clips here, they used bricks. More ingenious work. Just amazing. And this is what happens to boilers when you don't fix the brackets on the wall correctly. They just fall off. And boiler condensate pipes need to be made of plastic, not copper. Copper will just rot. And finally, copper pipes aren't very gas tight if you don't solder them up properly. And where gas is concerned, I think this is very dangerous, don't you? Now here we have a lovely Logic boiler. Shame we can't say that about the pipework though. Customer to the gas engineer. Well, if you weren't so dear, you would have got the job. This guy was a quarter of your price. Gas engineer. Yeah, love, whatever you say. Customer. Yeah, mate, you gas engineers, you're too expensive. So I did it myself. And look at this amazing job I've done. No way was I going to pay all that money to you lot when I can do it quite perfectly myself. Yeah, of course you did, mate. And where's my RIDDOR forms? Builder to the customer. Don't worry, you don't need to get them gas engineers in. They're too expensive. We'll actually move the boiler ourselves, and it'll look absolutely perfect and be done just like a gas engineer would do it. Yeah, of course it has. What do you mean I can't use garden hose for my blow-off pipe? It made it so much easier to do it that way. Yeah, mate. Brilliant. Customer to gas engineer. What do you mean you can't fix it? I thought you were a gas engineer. Yeah, well, I might be a gas engineer, but I'm not a miracle worker. Here's another one. Customer. Well, it was only serviced last year. Yeah, of course it was. You're still going to need a new boiler though. And again, let's save the best or the worst to the last. Well, they didn't have anywhere else in my bathroom to install my boiler. Yes, love, but they can't install it over your bath. It's not allowed. Now, I would have loved to have known what the conversation was like between the builders of the conservatory and the customer about moving the boiler. Nah, you don't need to have the boiler moved. What we can do is we can make a shield for it and it'll be perfect. It'll look absolutely great. I think that's probably how it went. Or the conversation for this one. Don't worry, we won't have that smoky stuff all over your stairs. What we'll do is we'll take it straight the way through and you won't get any of that smoky stuff covering your stairs. You'll have to step over the flue like, but you won't get that smoky stuff all over you. What a joke. Who thought of doing this? At least they put a terminal guard on it though. Probably the most common fault we come across with flues is being too close to extractor fans and windows and doors and stuff, because the flue has to be 300mm away from an opening into a building. So here's one. Here's another, which is a little bit closer than the last one. In fact, it's probably halfway through the vent. Here's another one. And here's another flue, which is a little bit too close to an opening in a building. It still needs to be 300mm away, even if it's above the opening. And if it's under a carport, this flue should be 1.2 meters away from an opening to within a building. And this one is too close to an opening for the door and the window, and it's a baxi flue with white showing, which is not allowed. And it's also too close to a downpipe or soil pipe. So what do we do with this one then? So remember, it needs to be 300mm from the side of the flue to the opening. This is right up against the frame, but it's still not 300mm from the opening in the window. And this one is not too close to an opening in the building, but it is a bit too close to the wall. I can actually see the flue is damaging the wall, and it could also be going into vented eaves. So not good either. The next few pictures we've got are flue sticking out too far. This isn't even sealed neither. This one hasn't even got a terminal on the end. And I have no clue what they were thinking with this one. It just baffles me. Now that's my little Halloween special. Hope you've enjoyed it. So it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from him. Bye bye. Catch you on the next one. Cheers.